Hey guys! So today I'm going to do a paper making tutorial. Tell you how to make these, which a lot of you are getting in the mail nowadays and seeing online. Alright, first things first, please excuse my messy kitchen. We're cleaning this afternoon, but this is the morning. You're going to make a pot of very strong coffee. That is step one. Alright, so step two is get some cold press watercolor paper. You can use regular paper too, but it tends to rip. So if you use the watercolor paper, it's super tough and you can beat it up and give it wrinkles and everything like that. I have a couple scrap pieces I'm going to use, and this is from an old watercolor pad that I had in college. This is a great technique to repurpose paper that might have sketches on it that you hate now because they're, 5-10 years old, or, whatever, like a damaged piece of, used damaged pieces of paper and whatnot. So you're going to rip up the edges. Okay, so now you can see I've ripped up the edges. It's all my extras over there. And these are the size pieces that you're used to getting, and these are my scrap pieces. I don't know what I'm going to make with these, but we'll find out. Now I have poured myself a cup of coffee and added whipped cream and cinnamon to the top. This is a very important part of the creative process, so make sure you take time to do that. And then you get a big brush that you can really beat up. You're going to take all the paper scraps and put them in a pan and dump the rest of the coffee over them. And then what you're going to do is, this works with hot or cold coffee, it doesn't matter. I store my extra in the fridge. And then what you're going to do is take each individual piece of paper and use the brush to paint both sides of it. So really work the coffee into the fiber of the paper. And it's hard to do this with one hand, but you kind of get the general idea. Paint that coffee on there. Okay, so this batch of coffee turned out a bit lighter than I wanted, but we shall proceed. So now what you do, because this is watercolor paper and watercolor paper is kind of bulletproof, is you just crumple the paper, like with no regard and no fear, and you just beat it up, put it in there, and you go from paper to paper, and you can just crumple it up. Get those nice cool wrinkles in there that everyone associates with antique paper. If you're using printer paper, you're going to do way more gentle, because it's wet, it's going to start tearing up. But that's why I use watercolor paper. And then we're going to lay this out on a cookie sheet and bake it until it is dry at 300 degrees. If you're using printer paper, you're going to have to use a lower temperature, about 280 degrees. Oh, I almost forgot a step. So before you cook the paper, you're going to leave it in this pan filled with coffee for 10 minutes. So set your kitchen timer, 10 minutes on the clock, and this is just going to soak and suck up the coffee. And the other thing, which I like to do, is take a tea bag and break it on the top of it. And this, you can do with coffee grinds too, I think. But it just is going to make some cool stains and stuff like that. You can use tea as a base for this too, I've been told, but I've never tried it, and I've gotten good results with coffee, and breaking a tea bag on top. So, I'm going to try and break a tea bag with one hand, and my teeth. And we'll see what that does. And you can alternate this process of, you can do this many times. After this paper is dry, you can put it back into this pan, cover it with more coffee, more tea, splatter, use the brush to splatter stuff onto it. And it will repeat, and every time you repeat the process, the paper gets darker and darker. So it's, it's kind of like to your preference how dark you want the paper to be. But either way, this guy has to soak for 10 minutes. Okay, so this is soaked for 10 minutes now, and now I'm going to put them onto this flat pan. My pan is not like a cookie sheet. This is like a broiler pan, so it's got this bump in the middle. This will make a mark on the paper because it's part of it's lifted up. And normally you can stop this by just putting tinfoil down on that, but I don't have any tinfoil in the house, so we're gonna roll with it. So all you have to do is take out your paper pieces, just leave the goo on it, just leave everything on it, and lay it out flat like that. And then once this is all laid out, and like, you know, you can bend them and you know, crinkle them up again and everything. Just beat this paper up so it looks old, antiqued. Like, you know, that's the whole point of this. So this is gonna go in the oven at 300 degrees for 15 minutes. And what you want to do is basically dry the paper out. And it might take longer than 15 minutes. So you're gonna have to watch it. But essentially what you want is the paper to be dry or almost dry. And then if it's not the darkness level that you want, you just repeat the process. Soak it again, cook it again, put more tea on it, you know, splatter coffee on it, do whatever you want. So this is going to be round 1 for this paper, and we'll see what we get, and I might repeat the process to make it darker. And I probably will, because I'm using a different brand of coffee this time, and it's a lot lighter than the other one I used. Okay, so it has been 15 minutes, and these guys are coming out of the oven for the first time. So let's take these out. And you can see there's some already nice browning to these guys, so I'm pleased with that. And then you can see what happens if you don't use the tin foil. It's like grill mark paper. But I might be able to do something cool with this anyways. So, see how that goes. Okay, cool. So, this is, I pulled it up. Pull it up carefully, because it kind of like sticks a bit to the, it'll even stick to the tin foil. So, yeah, this is sort of a result that I liked. And you can, you know, just brush off the coffee grounds or tea grounds or whatever you have. And, yeah, like that's the final product. And there we go. So, yeah, that'll look like that. I think that's kind of cool. So, I'll keep these guys as is. If this isn't working for you, if you want more splatter or splotches or make it darker or whatever, stick it back in the pan and repeat the process as many times as you want. There's going to be a dark side and a light side, like the Force. So, use whichever side appeals to you more. And, yeah, that's my antiquing paper technique. And I hope you like it. And thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. You guys are awesome. If you do make these and you draw on them, please like post them on the Patreon page. I think you can post directly to Patreon to show me, or just tag me on social media at Sarah Dollinger Art on Instagram, or at S Dollinger Art on Twitter. Okay, thanks so much, guys. Bit of a bonus. So remember the ones that came out with the grill marks all over them? I just did the process again, and I think we're gonna be fine. I think they came out pretty cool. Let me see. Just came out of the oven, so it's kind of hot. But actually, these are still kind of wet. But you can see how tough this is. Like, you know, now the grill marks are gonna be hidden up. This will be very usable. So, I mean, just keep doing the process. Don't let anything discourage you. You're supposed to make the beat up paper look beat up. So, here you go. Alright. Thanks again, guys.